I'm speaking today with Mary Jo Rathgeb, a human design facilitator and dear friend. So, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast today.
Thank you, Melanie. I am so excited to be here with you.
And I know today we have some really exciting topics to explore and news to share because Mary Jo and I are collaborating on some beautiful projects this fall. So,
Yay.
we are really kind of opening up a space to invite you into the story of your becoming.
Mm,
And
beautiful.
so, we've been talking a lot about the liminal space and about moving through major life transitions, going from that dark night of the soul into the alchemy that takes place, with the phoenix rising from the ashes, and what happens when you need to make sense and meaning out of all of it and come out the other end, and then what? So
Right.
these are kind of the main topics that we're discussing today, and we'll see what comes through in relationship to the audience who's tuning in and to the people we are here to support.
Yeah. Yeah. And so just grounding it in reality today, right now, there is a major thunderstorm going on outside my window. So when you speak about a dark night of the soul, the weather is giving the giving the effect of it right now.
Perfect. It's very theatrical. It's almost like
Very theatrical.
it's like a movie where you have like the boom.
Right. Yes. Yes. Mother Nature is giving the special effects.
And I feel like that's kind of what it feels like when you're in it. Like for me, I've been moving through my own major life transitions now for like a good 2 years, 3 years, even more than that. So,
Mm,
I mean, however long a dark night of the soul is, or it's not necessarily all dark, there's like an oscillation between the light and the dark, but the transition is real. The awakening to self and remembrance is very real. And I feel like for myself, when I'm in it, I feel like kind of the hero of my own movie.
yes.
And I could even put music behind it, you know, during certain parts of it.
Right. And so it's the dark night of the soul is something that everyone is going to experience. And it's not just once. It's going to be multiple times throughout your life. And so so I think that A, talking about it is really important, and B, normalizing it is also important. So that when people are in it, they are able to more fully be in it and not try to either resist it or rush it or just shut it down.
Right, right. And I think those are like the hardest parts of being in it and not knowing that there's a light at the end or that things are going to lead to something better or different in life.
Right.
Um, so I think what we're really speaking to and reflecting upon is like what happens after you've already gone through all the things. When you look back and you're like trying to make meaning out of it, this is
Mm,
something that like I think Mary Jo and I are both going through this in our own lives or like have different experiences with going through it already.
mhm.
And I think maybe a little bit more me than you, Mary Jo. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I'm very much in the reassessing and rewriting my own story piece.
Mhm. I have done probably more rewriting and assessing in little bits and pieces over the past 20 years or so, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I've been doing that, making that meaning
Mm-hmm.
in smaller chunks, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But for you, it's also you seem to have had like one thing after another, after another, after another. And so, so even having the space to make that meaning isn't always there.
Right, right.
If
And
you're
I
in
mean,
it, you're in
yeah,
it.
a full disclosure, like even in this year, um, last year alone, the last year and a half alone, I can say I experienced at least five major life transition events. that
Wow.
blew me open on a psychic intuitive level, that shifted my heart on a massive level to open up and to really
Mm,
feel the embrace of really the love that all that is all, and to feel like extreme depths of pain and loss, particularly with the loss of my former partner and dear friend,
yeah.
who's
Yeah.
now on the other side. He just came in, he just popped in, but we'll let him go for a minute because I'll just get all teary eyed, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
But can
mean,
you share a
so
little bit more about your story and your path and how that's unfolded for you? Because you're a bit further along.
yeah, absolutely. There's just one thing I do want to say about your sharing is that it sounds like, your growth and evolution is on a fast track. Um,
It is.
so many things happening one right after the other. It's like the change in your experience is exponential.
Right. I think I picked it that way. And like when I'm in it, I was like, why? Why this? Why another thing? Why
Yeah.
another evacuation? Why another, whatever,
Hmm.
red flag? Um,
Mm.
and yeah, I do believe, looking back on it, that I was meant to go through certain experiences so that I could be a guiding light for other people. So I could be,
Mm.
a space of hope and
Mm.
creativity and magic, and
Mhm.
letting people know that even though you can go through these tremendous losses and grief and really mind blowing on a consciousness level experiences, that you can come out in the other end sane and healthy and capable of having a full, joyful life and love.
Yes.
So I'm
Beautiful.
still, I mean, I'm not at the end of my story, and I think, life is its own story. So there's never really a beginning and an end, but maybe there are chapters.
Right. And it sounds like you are already making meaning out of your story, even as we're speaking,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
maybe even before.
Yeah.
Yes, when I look back on my life, you know, not all transitions are dark nights of the soul.
Mm,
Sometimes they're actually happy nights of the soul. And so, some big transitions in my life were like, and I'm going to relate these to the predictable life cycles that happen that er- everyone is going to go through. So this isn't about me and not about you. It's about everyone.
right.
That like your first Saturn return or your, second Saturn return, your Chiron or the Uranus opposition, they all happen at different points in your life. And so for me, my first Saturn return when I was 29, I got married and, started a beautiful family. Well, I didn't start a family. I didn't have any children. But we started a beautiful marriage. And then fast forward to my Uranus opposition at 43, my husband died. And so that chapter ended, but then the new one began, which was really that dark night of the soul, the
Mm,
grief and loss after the death of my husband. And then actually for my Chiron return, when I was 52, I was laid off for my corporate job and started on a new path, which is the path that I am on now. And then with my second Saturn return that just ended, I downsized and moved to a new home, but had to really like just let go of a lot of material stuff
mm,
and also some roles and identities that I had that were attached to the place that I was living in and
right.
even some of the belongings that I had. And so that's sort of my story in a timeline, in a
Yeah.
bulleted timeline.
Well, I think you bring up a really good point about releasing the stories and identities, because it's like during every major transition, that's like the biggest challenge that I notice is like, okay, if I was really connected to, like, say in 2021, I was living in Boulder and with my former partner, and our house burnt down in
Mm,
the Marshall fires. And at
mm,
that point, I was really attached to materialism and to, like, I had my clinic going there, and I was really attached to having all of the gear and all of the different everything that I would need to, like, have both like a comfortable space and this, like, almost American dream like idea of like what it is to be in a relationship in a home in a certain setup.
mm,
And I just, I mean, all of that, it was just interesting because, like, when it happened really fast because the fire swept through and I believe evacuated about 10 to 12,000 people overnight.
mm,
And that night, I remember psychically, energetically, I wasn't there, but I was energetically going through the home and each room and I was releasing it. And I went through it like a ritual almost. And it was like almost in a peri dream state,
mhm.
or in kind of a meditative state in the middle of the night where I could actually feel the house burning down. And I was letting go of all of the different kind of spaces that I had created for myself in that
Wow.
home. And with
Wow.
that, it was like releasing all the different identities of myself. But
Mm,
then it also left open such an open wound of like, okay, who am I now? Now that I'm not those things, you know?
yes. And that is the liminal space. That is the liminal space where you are no longer who you were and you cannot go back, but you're also not yet that new identity and who you're going to be. That's the exact liminal space.
Right.
You described it so beautifully, actually.
So, like, in your experience, how long was it in that space until you could even identify not being it anymore? It's probably not like a black and white transition, you know?
Yeah, it's not a black and white transition. I would say that you know, like so many people, that some of the changes might have happened on an external side first.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so after the death of my husband, I started dating again, several years later, and, got partnered with someone who I'm actually still with. And um, so I went from being married to being widowed and single and not liking it, and um and having to figure out in my mid 40s, like, how do you be a single person in New York City um when you haven't been single in decades.
Yeah.
And so it was just kind of a very disorienting time in my life, and I actually had to learn how to be okay with being with myself,
Mm-hmm.
and even things like I would take myself out to dinner.
Yeah.
I would sit in a restaurant that had like a white tablecloth on it, not just like some, you know, fast food restaurant or something, but like, and sit there and have my dinner by myself, and like just be okay with the fact that there's a couple in the corner or a family, next to me or whatever, but that it's like, how can I be me in the
Mm-hmm.
situation that I'm in? Um, yeah, so it was just, and even things like, how long do I wear the ring? I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
that resonates for you or not, but really needing to release that identity of being a married person was,
Right.
for me, very top of mind, very front and center for me.
Right. And it sounds like you kind of created this space to honor what it was like to be in that liminal space.
Hmm. Well, yeah, the first Valentine's Day that I was a widow and single, and I was like, okay, I can ignore Valentine's Day, pretend it never happened, or I can show myself some self-love. And I actually decided to show myself some self-love, and I went to a local store, and I found this beautiful aquamarine necklace that a local artist had made, and I bought it for myself for Valentine's Day.
Aw.
And then I was like, oh, I need earrings to go with it. And so they were like, oh, we'll have them made for you. And I'm like, really? And then so then she made me two pairs of earrings to go with my necklace. And so I bought both. And and so I like gifted myself this beautiful one of a kind handmade piece of jewelry that like really spoke to me and made me feel like celebrated. I
Mm.
still have it to this day, and I still wear it and still get comments on it. And but it was like my choice in the moment. Like I am not going to sit it out. I'm going to actually celebrate me.
I love that. I love that so much.
So,
I love that. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, you have me thinking about like having gone through divorce, which was just about my Saturn return. So I'm kind of
mhm,
the opposite. You
mhm,
That's when you got married. For me, it was
mhm.
actually separating from a 13-year relationship, and it
Wow.
was huge.
Yeah.
And since I was married, like there was this question of what do I do with the ring? And it took
Yeah.
me a while because I think on an emotional standpoint, it took me at least a couple years of just feeling incomplete, like that I didn't give myself time to grieve or really feel what the impact of it, because I think the initial response for me was a little bit of a shock,
Mm.
and feeling kind of disembodied, and like that I didn't have an identity of myself.
Hmm.
And yeah, a lot of mixed feelings that honestly I think I could still unravel with writing.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I do remember the really significant moment of getting to the point where I woke up one morning and I was like, I have to get rid of this ring. Like, obviously, I wasn't wearing it, but it just even owning it and the energy of that,
Mm.
having the energy of that union still be in my presence, I was like, I can't do this. So I think I put up like an ad on Craigslist or Facebook Market or something like that because I was like, how do you sell a diamond ring? I don't even know how to
Mhm.
do that. Do I go to a diamond store and see if they'll buy it from me? And I couldn't even figure that out. But I found the perfect person who
Mm.
just really loved it, and just I could tell was just deeply in love with his soulmate. And like
Mm.
it just felt like such a clean break from that energy, and to kind of reset it and then
Yes.
to kind of pass it forward. And it was like, oh, this is such a relief. But it felt like a milestone, and it literally lifted a weight off my shoulder.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
yeah,
I
it's
love
cool to
that.
reflect on those like pivotal moments though, where it's
Hmm.
like the thing happens and then there's like the digesting, processing piece,
Hmm.
but then you reach these moments of like choice.
Hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think those are even more important than the immediate response, and actually going through the thing is like
Yes.
really, how do you integrate it?
Yes. Yeah, for me, I would say that the dark night of the soul kind of choice point moment for me after my husband died was when I was in my living room one night after work
Mhm.
and literally felt like just kind of fell to the floor, like fell on my knees and was just like, I don't know if I can do this. Feeling like there was this giant hole in my heart um and in that moment it was like a choice. I can either keep falling and just lie flat on the floor and give up, or
Mhm.
I can just stand up and just put one foot in front of the other.
Right,
And that's what I chose to do.
right.
Even when it felt like walking through water. I don't know if you've had that experience
Yeah.
when the world feels so dense that you feel like you're walking through water.
Yeah, I mean, I know the feeling of like in multiple transitions that I've experienced of literally having to take every ounce of your energy to fight for your life in those moments,
Hmm.
and like having to fight for yourself and to have the courage to stand up and to keep going or even to get out of bed.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, it's just me taking care of me. And I think another kind of moment of transition out of that was also realizing that it is me taking care of me and it's the whole universe.
Right.
That I'm still being held and that there's still guidance and support and, you know, nature and like there's still access to so many other things. And then like there's kind of like for me it was like kind of bouncing between worlds of feeling like the darkness and it's like connecting to the old stories and then like having that sinking feeling that you just like want to collapse or you just want to cry and that's
Mhm.
all you have the capacity to do, but then making those moments of like shifting out of it. And sometimes it's like something that you don't even initiate. Sometimes it's like you ask and it's like, please, something help. And then all of a sudden a friend will call or like
Mhm.
somebody will send me like a funny meme or something to just direct my focus onto something new, or I'll meet somebody random who just says the right thing at the right time. And then it's just like those reminders of like, oh yeah, it's part of a bigger web of everything that is.
Yes.
There's a bigger story to it.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely, actually at the time was still working in my corporate job and so appreciated having a place to go every day where I was still intact,
Right.
meaning I had a role that I knew and it was familiar and it was actually a little bit of an oasis, where it's like, okay, I don't have to deal
Right.
with the um the identity shift in this moment because I know who I am here.
Right. Like you still had that shred of like comfort and
Yes.
safety even though
Yes.
other things were falling apart.
Right. And the support of all the people was immense. And so it was just really I was so grateful to have that kind of support and also that moment of I know who I am in this moment. When I go home, it will be a different story. But right now, I still feel there's a part of me intact enough to function.
Right.
Although, to be completely honest, I realized later that I wasn't actually 100% functioning. I just thought I was.
Well, and then you left your corporate job, so I'm sure that
Well,
was a
that was
huge.
years later. Yes, yes. Um, It was actually about 8 years later. So I was there for a while. But I also really, really appreciated having that at the time.
One thing that's coming up in my mind is like the idea of the death of the ego
Mm-hmm,
and how much that takes place in these transitions as far as like letting go of these old identities.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because I I was laid off actually while I was still there, but I was rehired an hour later. So I got to have this experience of being laid off and walking around the streets of New York and realizing that I was clinging to that identity. And I really, even though I thought I was ready to be laid off, I really wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And um, and it was a devastating moment. And then I walked back into the building and suddenly find out, oh no, things have changed in the hour that you have been walking around crying. Um, and so I had a choice again, whether to take the package or to go, with the new company because we were being sold. And I actually ended up going to with the new company and not taking the package at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So because I wasn't ready to let go of that identity yet. But I actually had a opportunity to sort of test drive. Am I actually ready?
Yeah.
And I wasn't. And so I got a second chance. Um, and then 3 years later, I actually was laid off, and that time I was ready.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. And part of the reason I knew I was ready was because everything was feeling so hard, at, at work. And I was actually homesick when it happened. And it was just like I didn't have the energy and the passion for it anymore. And it was just really, 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 really difficult.
Right. I think that's a common thing that happens when people hit that fork in the road. You know, it's
Hmm.
like either it's
Yeah,
too difficult to force yourself to do something or your body literally fights back.
right. Or both.
Or both. Right. Right.
So,
Yeah. I've definitely experienced that with like burnout, especially like with work situations where it's
mm-hmm.
like you got to do something different now and then there's that
Yeah,
fork in the road again.
yes,
But
yeah.
I feel like, many of us, we get to the point where it's so loud and screaming before making those choices
Yeah.
that finally it's like, oh, okay. So I think part of the wisdom of what I've learned as I've gone through all these different transitions is how do I move through with more grace the transitions that I'm always going to be in, some kind of evolution,
Hmm.
but doing it in a way that you know, allows kind of micro movements or micro
Yeah,
doing smaller choices so that it's not a big shock to my system.
right. Well,
Yeah,
sometimes actually, what is being asked of you from a movement standpoint in the liminal space is to actually heal the burnout.
right,
I mean, that is the action.
right. And I kind of equate that to like the hero's journey when the hero's gone through all of the different climactic challenges and events and then is finally on the road home. And at that point, you think the journey's over, but actually, you got to recover. And that's a serious part of the journey. It could take a year, it could take 8 years, it could take whatever you need.
Right. It doesn't, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
there's no necessarily time stamp on it. I think it has more to do with how you navigate it.
right,
Like if you actually do allow yourself to recover, then it will probably be faster than if you actually continue to just keep grinding and pushing and
right,
resisting. Then you may actually make it worse before it gets better.
right. I definitely did exactly that, like over and over and over again. Like, especially when it came to like the work that I was doing and just forcing things to try to happen and then being in positions where I was solely responsible for my own financial well-being and I would make all these ultimatums with myself of like you have to do this or you should do this or
Mm-hmm.
else what
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
sky's gonna fall.
Right. Yeah.
In retrospect, um yeah, I've definitely learning more how to listen in those moments that are screaming.
Yes. And learning to surrender to that.
Right. Which is not that easy.
No.
That's actually the scariest part, I think, in my journey is like actually allowing the surrender.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. 'Cause then you also have to trust.
Because that's a huge part of like the liminal space is like when you're on that journey home
Yeah.
and yet you don't know what's next. It feels chaotic. Everything's in transition. You still don't know who you're becoming.
Right.
And like you want answers, you want to make choices, but it's not time yet,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And at
But you
that point,
can, I mean, you can start to, envision and imagine and, you know, and as you are processing and rewriting that story, you get to play a little bit with, that imagining, who are you going to be? Who do you want to be?
right.
You
And then
know?
playing with the space of what actually feels good. After having gone through so many things that are either emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically devastating or painful,
Hmm.
and then allowing the grace of like, oh, I can be playful again. I can
Yeah.
actually celebrate life again. I can create new friends and community again. I can love
Hmm.
again.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
does that want to look like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
but then also release anything that might be trying to guilt you or shame you or, you know, reprimand you somehow for wanting to live and love and play.
Right. Right. I think that's a big, especially it's like an American trap, but
Mm,
it's a human thing too, It's like because we have there's so much pressure and there's so much like indoctrination, especially within the church systems,
mm,
within the Catholic and Christian churches,
mhm.
um, or
Well,
or
society at
even if you're
large.
not in a religion, like I'm not religious, but I grew up around that stuff. So I mean, it took me into adulthood to start even unraveling the subconscious beliefs and
Right,
indoctrination, you know,
right.
of the guilt and
There,
the
there
shame
are
and all
other
of
world
this.
religions that, if you're a widow, female widow, you're supposed to throw yourself on the funeral pyre because you're done.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I think that's a huge point, especially in this culture. There's like so many stereotypes too around like reaching a certain age or going through certain milestones and then you're supposed to be done. Like even
right.
retirement as a huge transition.
Hmm.
Some people just have this belief of like, "Oh, I'm retired. I can stop living." It's like you're not dead.
Well, some people actually literally die after they retire because their role is done. I mean, their identity, it's like they are so attached to that identity that then they like within a year they're dead of a heart attack. I mean, it's amazing how tied to an identity
Right.
we get.
I think
And
that is part of the meaning making too, because it's like if your whole meaning and your identity is like with that work and then all of a sudden you don't have anything to make meaning or feel a sense of purpose,
Mhm.
that's a huge crisis.
Yes,
That's a spiritual crisis right there.
yes, it is.
And I would say that definitely pushes people into a liminal space, unless they're the kind of person who's like been planning their retirement for a decade, and thinking
Yeah.
about making plans or like, oh, I'm going to start cruising or like doing
I would
whatever.
say it still puts them in a liminal space, best laid plans. I think that it's like even when I, was not retired, but laid off. Before that, I had actually started my plan B. And so I had something to go to um when I did get laid off. But it still was a transition. And I still was in the liminal space because even when you're starting something new that's totally different, because trying to start your own business is way different than being like a corporate employee. It's a different skill set
Oh, right.
and
Yeah.
and it's a different identity. And so it's you still have even when you're still looking forward to it, like getting married, having kids, becoming a parent, you know, it still is, you still go through that
Yeah.
because there is an identity shift
Right.
and a role change.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can definitely, I can relate to, like on the physical side, there's like, for me, I've gone through so many identity shifts, like on the physical human side of playing different roles of like, a wife, a friend, an employee, whatever, a licensure, like all these
Mhm.
different roles,
Yeah,
or spirituality,
yeah.
But then it's like with every break in those physical identities, also became a shift in consciousness
Mm.
and a spiritual shift.
Hmm.
And I think that's a piece that sometimes people don't fully acknowledge or recognize how much you change on an energetic level. And
Mm.
like for me, going through certain shifts that open me up multidimensionally, as far as starting to remember aspects of myself that are beyond the physical, that are actually connected to, maybe other planets, other universes.
Yeah, yeah.
And to me, when that started opening up, it was like, oh my gosh, this is so much more than like, just like, it was like the ultimate identity crisis. like the
Mm. Mhm.
ultimate ask to release. Because
Yeah.
it was like, oh, wow, I feel like I've been sleeping my whole life, that I've been so attached to this human existence and about, like things like, um, I don't know. There's just like, there's in my mind, there's kind of like, mm, I don't know. I think I have like layers of identities within myself,
Mm.
you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
And it's just interesting. Like I feel like the more I can reflect back and be like objective and how I view myself, and kind of from that bigger picture standpoint, like even being still in my own type of liminal space right now, it's
Hmm.
like I'm walking in the physical world, I'm working, I'm relating to people, I'm creating, and yet I still have an acknowledgement that at some point, I'm going to die. and
Hmm.
and then what, because there's so much more happening on the vaster non-physical field in space,
Right.
and the incredible like multidimensional perceptions and
Hmm.
awarenesses and possibilities of what's next after this lifetime is like
Right.
very much in my mind, even though I know I'm going to be here on this planet for, I've got some time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for a human being, death is the ultimate transition, right?
Yeah.
Because you do need to leave your humanness behind.
But even having that, leaving the humanness behind inside of the human experience of these transitional spaces
Hmm.
and kind of getting to a different level on a consciousness level.
Hmm.
Like if you look at yourself 20 years ago and where your consciousness was compared to now,
Right.
I mean,
Right.
it's just, it's incredible.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
you start to resonate with and meet and acknowledge that kind of sacredness in other people too, in a completely new light, because if you can see it in yourself, and then it's like, oh wow. Like for me, I think me 10 years ago was just so closed minded, and like my kind of closed circuit thinking about things, or thinking that there's a right and a wrong way to everything, and
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
that like I needed a lot of shoulds, a lot of
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
you know, needing to maintain the standards of the things that were taught to me. And then as I let go of those standards and those identities, I was like, oh, wait, those things actually had nothing to do with me in the first place. But I
Which is
believe
actually,
them,
yeah,
until
of
I
course.
didn't.
Yeah. And it's very freeing to be able to let go of them.
Yeah. And that's where the magic starts opening up, though, is like when you start remembering yourself and just giving yourself that full autonomy to like be your own inner authority in your
Yes.
life and
Yes.
in your creations and in your storytelling.
Yes.
Like that is, to me, that's freedom.
Yes. To be able to rewrite the narrative. You can't change the past, but you can change the meaning of the past, and you
Right,
can change the trajectory, the direction of your future based on the narrative that you write for yourself.
right. And that includes the energy that's held in your cellular memory and how it's impacting your day to day life. Because if you've rewritten the memory that's stored in those stories,
Hmm.
then as you experience life as a reflection of your inner reality, then your response changes.
Yes.
Like your experience, you have 20 people in the same, going to the same concert, and everybody has a completely wildly different experience.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And that's the whole point of what we're doing.
Exactly. So at this point, I want to invite you, if you are interested in this experience, to join me and Mary Jo in September in a 4-part workshop. We will be writing our stories and rewriting them in an alchemical container, and really providing a safe, sacred space for an intimate group to reflect, to contemplate, and to bring through some sound alchemy as well in the
Mhm.
space, as you get to go inward and rewrite your story and really find the wisdom and the gifts
Mhm.
that you received.
Yeah. And I would say with the alchemy of the sound, and everything we're doing, that you can change that chemical, the cellular memory.
Exactly. Yeah. And you do that with your intention. You do that with your intention to heal, your intention to alchemize,
Mhm.
with your willingness to sit with the experience and to
Mhm.
even see the words that come out of your mouth and come out of the pen. You might shock yourself and surprise yourself that the things that you learn by through that reflection and that contemplation and being in that space,
Yeah.
it's incredibly powerful, and it changes who you're becoming too.
Yes. And the words that you use, the vocabulary you use is hugely important.
So I invite all the listeners right now to think about this latest chapter in your life. If you feel like you're in the liminal space or that you've kind of come through the end or the close to the end of a chapter in your life, if you look back and can you actually pinpoint where the beginning of your chapter began,
Mm.
this last stage of your life, this evolutionary
Journey.
stage? Or maybe it's a dark night of the soul.
Mhm.
Or maybe it was an invitation to step into a new version of yourself. At what point did that actually initiate the Phoenix event in your life or multiple events?
Mm. Yeah.
And just creating the space to contemplate for a moment. Hmm. I can see you all thinking. I want to bring through a little bit of sound. Hmm. And I'm really feeling the dragon energies coming in strong.
Mm.
Hmm. The heart of the dragon. And just take a deep cleansing breath in, filling up your abdomen, and exhale naturally through your mouth. Hmm. Hmm. It just really occurred to me, Mary Jo, that the
Yes.
space we're creating is actually a dragon cave or a dragon
Oh,
den.
oh.
It's a very deep space to go inward.
Mm. And we're here to support anyone who wants to join us.
And with that, if you appreciate this conversation, if you resonate, if you want to go deeper, if you even want to start exploring your own relationship to your story, We invite you to join our YouTube station that is going to be available through the link provided in this episode. And the station is called Phoenix, or it's called Flight of the Phoenix, Becoming Your Magic. So, Flight of the Phoenix, Becoming Your Magic. And so, we're going to be talking about this experience moving through the liminal space in preparation for the workshop starting on September 9th. It's going to be 4 Tuesdays in September, and that'll be at 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock. What did we say, Mary Jo?
Yeah, the working time is 6 p.m. Eastern.
6 p.m. Eastern. So it'll be 2 hours, and that will also be recorded if you can't make any of the sessions. And we're going to be creating a really deep space and a sacred space for everyone to go inward and write your story as little or as much as you'd like. If you're considering writing an autobiography or writing this chapter of your story to share with your family or to have as a memoir for yourself or as a way to look back and reflect, um, that's really what we're creating the space for, and to have a community of like minded souls who can really understand that space. And so within that space, you'll have the option to share in small groups if that's something that you choose. And it's going to be beautiful. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited to share this space with Mary Jo, who's just incredibly wise and has so much experience in this space. And so she's kind of our senior elder, um, has really gone through it. And so I'm in the tail end of the dragon tail end of my chapter.
Yeah,
And
but
so
you've gone deep fast.
I've
So
gone really fast,
you're a
really
quick
deep and
study.
really fast.
It took me much longer to figure all these things out.
I think that's what happens when you've got 5 planets in Capricorn. I've got Pluto transiting all of them in the last decade of my life. So,
Yeah, so I'm just saying, don't shortchange your experience because you're 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 going you're evolving very quickly.
so thank you. And oh, if you want to sign up for this workshop, and there's going to be another announcement for an upcoming retreat following up with the workshop this November in the Blue Ridge Mountains outside the Shenandoah National Park, which is going to be amazing as well. The Dragon Heart Inner Journey Retreat. We will be sharing more about that. And you can find more information in the links provided here and on my website, melanieadriana.com. And if you would like to sign up for the workshop, if this is a yes, if your heart's calling, um, we have a $100 discount, early bird discount, that is available until August 19th, I believe. And then
Yeah.
after that, it'll be the full price. So if you get your seats, there's going to be a limited amount of seats because we're going to keep the space small and intimate. And the workshop again starts on Tuesday, September 9th.
See you there.
So see you there. Thank you so much, Mary Jo. And I'm so excited that we're going to be working together and doing this.
Yeah, thank you, Melanie. I am so excited too. This
So,
is great.
all right. We'll see you guys on YouTube. Bye.